Start to flirt. You ever been at an office party? They start to pair off. They do. You find it. And last year, even Tommy Newsom, who was not used to drinking, Tommy Newsom ended up at a motel here in the valley with the Christmas tree. They were taking pine needles out of his back for a couple of months. But the NBC office party, it's an annual event out here, and it's the one day of the year the executives don't drink. That's the one. What
was that again?
That's the end of the joke right there. Yeah. Well, you've been at a Christmas party with the NBC executives?
Yes, I have.
It's really weird. I met the head of West Coast programming, wished him a Merry Christmas, and he just stared. He was waiting for an okay from New York.
Yes.
Rum-bum, yes. Well, what else? You haven't done your shopping yet, of course.
Not yet.
Yeah. You know the perfect gift for a kid who has everything?
What?
Batteries.
That's right. Right.
He's gonna need... Do you know they have electric shoelaces this year? I can wait it out. Christmas Eve here in Burbank should be exciting. All the kiddies get around and trim Yule Gibbons. That's what they do, all right. Would you like a little, historic?
Whatever it is, they'd like.
You'd all like a little, okay. A little historical news? You don't care, huh? You may have read this in the paper. Somebody says that America now may have been discovered, not by Columbus, but by a Chinese monk in 499 A.D. Yeah, it was in the papers today. He discovered America. And then 2 hours later, he was hungry for discovering Greenland.
You've got to get a manicure.
What? Yes.
You've got to get a manicure.
Nails are going bad. Okay, enough historical news. How about... I'll get out of this. You wait. I'm going to get out of this little valley I'm in. How about some space news?
Oh. Yes.
That's what I figured, yes. The Russians launched in the first time that America and the Russians both simultaneously have astronauts in space.
Right.
Now, wouldn't it be exciting, New Year's Eve, if they got together and docked? Would that be a party?
Yes.
Russians, you docked. Means, they get together. Lady in the audience is docked. Means they get together. They link up. What a party that would be. Yeah. They bring the vodka. We got all the tang. You see?
There we go.
That's all. See, I knew the big one was coming. You didn't know that. Say, till you sound in a good mood, tonight should be fun. We have Joan Rivers is with us tonight. Young comedian by the name of Gabe Kaplan, who's very, very funny. We have a new young lady I just met, Adrienne Barbeau. Did you meet Adrienne, too?
I saw her, yes.
Adrienne plays the young daughter on the on the television series Maude. And she's a very, very attractive... Adrienne's a very attractive, healthy young lady. And George Plimp is with us, who's kind of falling apart. But George... Excuse me, dear?
All right, George.
All right, George. Right. That's from the show.
Yeah. You've got to get a manicure.
Well, I got to get his nails are bothering me. Where was I? Did I mention George Plimpton?
Yes, you did.
George got 2 mentions, and we'll have to take one of those away. Because otherwise everybody else only got... Well, Adrienne got 2. I'll mention Joan Rivers and Gabe Kaplan.
Yeah.
So they all got 2 mentions.
Grab the golf club.
What?
Get the golf club.
Okay, we'll be with you. We'll be back after this word. Thank you. We're back. Before we start tonight, I have an apology to make. Not that I have to make, an apology I would like to make because it affected a great number of people. It's in relation to a letter I received from Mrs. Beverly Foster. And without reading the entire letter, and I'll tell you what it was about. She says, I've been called upon to write this letter as a representative For the nearly 50,000 individuals who make up the National Psoriasis Foundation, only a small portion of the 6 to 8 million people in this country who suffer from this disease. Now, what she's referring to is the joke, and it really wasn't much of a joke, come to think of it in retrospect, that I did 3 or 4 weeks ago in the monologue, where I said something about being in a department store, and I'm not repeating the joke to try to get a cheap laugh, and if I'd have thought about it at that time, I wouldn't have done the joke. I was really kind of picking up on the commercial phrase that is used in television about the heartbreak of psoriasis, and without thinking the burden it would add to a lot of people who suffer from it or have relatives or friends, I mentioned that line in a joking context, and then in retrospect, of course, later on, realized I probably shouldn't have said it, and I wouldn't have if I'd have, given it a little thought. I could have written Mrs. Foster a letter, but I thought since I did make the remark on the air that they are certainly welcome to an apology from me about making that remark. Sometimes when you do lines, you do not stop and think of the context you're doing them, and then you realize that you have added to the burden of those people. So I just want you to know, Mrs. Foster, I'm very well aware, first of all, that psoriasis is not a contagious disease. It's hereditary. And there are almost 8 or 9 million people in this country who suffer from it. And it's a very embarrassing affliction. I wouldn't do anything consciously to hurt anybody or embarrass anybody. So you have I hope you take my apology in the way that it is meant, which is sincere and from the heart. I hope in the long run, by making this apology, that the original remark, instead of being a disservice, might have actually come out to be a service by my mentioning this. So please accept my apologies, and you will not hear another joke like that from me on this show. So thank you, Mrs. Foster, for your... You do dumb things occasionally when you're doing a show like this, and when you do dumb things, you do dumb things. And in retrospect, I wouldn't have said that. You see, if I'd have said measles or something, everybody would have said, okay, because everybody catches the measles. But the other thing was wrong.
It's too personal.
So you were in Florida.
I was away. Yes, I had 4 days off.
I didn't hear from you at all.
What?
You always say you're going to write, and you never, not a gift.
What?
Funny postcard. I was at the airport. You didn't bring me anything. Remember that when your folks would go away?
I was going to bring you one of those little sacks of oranges. You know, you get at the airport, you get about 6 oranges.
Just don't bring me one of those crazy little baby alligators they used to sell.
No.
Did they finally outlaw that?
I think they stopped doing that, I think.
Everybody went to Florida, used to buy these little teeny baby alligators and send them home. And
there was
of course,
a great story.
Nobody ever kept them.
That people flushed them down the John and that they were running around the sewers of New York. That was a big story.
That got started.
Yeah,
that was true.
That got started, really.
You know, it's like the turtles that everybody would buy for a while. Then how do you get rid of a turtle?
Yeah.
But they would get rid of these little alligators, and the myth started that they lived in the sewers of New York and grew to 6 and 8 feet.
By the way, I do have an alligator.
But that's... You what?
I have an alligator at my house in Florida. I have a little lake out in the back, and there's an alligator in there.
But what is that for? Just to keep...
No, he's just there. You can't stop him. He's there. Skipjack, I call him. My little alligator, and at night he comes, he barks. He sounds like a dog.
Well, you probably think it's an alligator. No. You probably went out there one night and you heard this. He's got a dog in the backyard. Hey, look at that alligator, man. Look at the teeth on that thing. You were bombed. Why don't you apologize for that and tell him that you were bombed and you mistook a dog for an alligator?
I have an alligator.
It's a common...
He was out sunning himself.
It's a common mistake.
He was out sunning himself the other day.
Oh, hold it now.
I mean
alligators don't... They've got to stay pretty much in the water.
No,
they don't
he was
come
out,
out sun themselves.
He was out sunning himself for an hour. And you know what he's crazy about?
Could it have been a big purse?
He did have a funny mouth, a zipper mouth. You know.
Of course.
You know what they eat? You know what they love? Marshmallows. They're crazy about marshmallows.
Let's let him roll with this a while. Okay, you got this alligator that's out toasting marshmallows in your backyard. Is that about it?
I have an alligator that I thought he had gone away. The last I was there, he wasn't there. Now he's back. He's about this long. I swear, I'm telling you, there's an alligator in my little pond.
And you feed him marshmallows?
I feed him marshmallows, and he's the fastest thing you have ever seen in that water. He goes like a dart and gets that marshmallow. And you know what they can first...
They say to humor them when they... Usually they start seeing, I think it's little mice. I saw... Remember Ray Milland in Lost Weekend? It was a little mouse, but you went right to an alligator.
I saw an alligator.
You didn't even go through that...
Yeah. No.
Way up.
Transgressions. I go right to the biggie.
So this alligator comes up and barks.
They bark. They make a sound.
He goes and gets the paper, I suppose, huh?
No, once in a while, my pipe and slippers. They make a sound at night.
He'll be your slippers if you... Tell me about the sound they make at night.
It sounds like a barking dog, I swear. Now, this is the truth. I'm telling you the truth.
Look, I have seen alligators.
Yes.
I have never heard an alligator bark in all of my life.
But have you ever had one around at night?
No.
Okay.
No, you got me there.
Okay. At night, the other night, I had the windows open. I was listening to him. He was barking. I swear. Do you know that he, for
Kind of
a
a
short distance...
Type of a thing, you mean? Or...
I'll tell you, that is one of the best alligator imitations I've ever heard.
That's a dog.
Well, that's an awful lot like my alligator.
So at night he barks.
They bark
and
at
you
night.
run and go out and get your
I
marshmallows.
think he's calling to another alligator.
And
but he was out sunning himself for an hour the other day on the edge of the pond.
Why, do you have copper tone on or something? I bet you have one of those little shades you put on like this. And you ran out and get the marshmallows, and you go out in the middle of the night and feed this alligator?
No, during the day you feed them. I don't go out at night. They can outrun you on land for a short distance.
What do you mean an alligator can outrun me on land?
An alligator can outrun a man on land for a short distance, but if you turn, you can evade them. They cannot turn. They cannot make sharp turns. You think I'm kidding you?
Do you have any reason to make a sharp turn?
Well, no, if you made a sharp turn, you could outfox them.
How fast do they run?
Well, how fast can you run?
Well, I could run a mile in, I suppose, around 5 minutes. Can your alligator do that?
You can run a mile in 5... I'd like to see that. When do you plan to do that? Craig, how soon will it take him to run a mile in 5 minutes? Now, Craig runs miles every day. How many miles do you run a day, Craig? About 7. When could he run a mile in 5 minutes if he started practicing and training today? How steep is the hill?
I'm not talking about downhill, Craig. Well, I'm exaggerating a little bit. 5 minutes may...
How many minutes are you exaggerating?
12, 15. Well, how your alligator ain't gonna run no mile either.
I said short distance.
What do you mean, 6, 7 feet?
He's a sprinter. He's greater than a quarter mile.
A quarter-horse alligator, okay. Yeah. Well, that's the dumbest, obvious, most made-up story I've ever heard. I don't care what you did in Florida. I don't care how much you get away from the show, but don't come back and tell me that you go out and an alligator's eating marshmallows and barks like a dog.
All right, in the audience, does anybody know about alligators? Don't they love marshmallows? How many people know? Yes. Hear that?
What do these fruitcakes know? They don't. Marshmallows.
They love marshmallows. And they bark. Listen, somebody said they bark, too. Who said that?
Man up there with a brown paper bag. Saying they're getting bombed, that's what. Okay, we'll take a break here.
I want everybody first that knows this to be a fact.
Oh, don't start this now.
To write a letter to Johnny Carson, NBC, Burbank, California.
Don't start that. I'll give him your home address. And tell them where to send the alligators. Okay, you get the letters, you get the alligators. We're going to be back with our guests and some more of these tall tales after a break for this commercial. We are back. Well, that's hard to follow. On December 25th, Christmas, Joan Rivers is opening at the Deauville in Miami with Helen Reddy. And somebody just wrote in here, my staff. Is this true? That she is now a syndicated columnist? Seen in 83 papers. Somebody's added 47 of them are perforated, and the others are in bird cages, which I thought was a rather cruel remark that shows you our staff. Would you welcome Miss Joan Rivers? Yeah, wasn't it somebody wrote that? They're evil.
Yes, I want to excuse...
Last time you were here, you were elegant in a simple black long dress.
Yes, well, I said it to be clean.
And you look like you're going to Yule Gibbons' house in this. I don't know why he intrigues me, but...
They told me it's smart, Henry Bendel. This was it. No, this is because of the fuel shortage. To keep you warm. Yes.
Are you doing all those things?
Well, I found a terrific way to beat the fuels, to keep yourself warm. Sleep with a wino.
Sleep with a wino. I didn't think of that.
I just thought of that, John. I shouldn't have, because it starts the whole thing going.
Yeah. No, now you see, now I just introduce you as Miss Joan Rivers.
Yes, Ms.
But you're not Miss, obviously, because you're married to Edgar.
Yeah, well...
But most professional women do not use their married name, but I shouldn't say Miss, should I? Just Joan Rivers, but not Miss.
Anything.
Ms. Do you like that?
I can't stand it.
Ms.
No, because I worked so hard to get married. It's like I want to throw it in everyone's face. Yeah. Mrs. Ha-ha! You know what I'm saying?
Don't care for that.
I would like Queen Joan Rivers even better.
Well, you're stuck with Miss.
But my
anyway.
hairdresser got that, so...
Well... Happy holidays,
Happy holidays. Yeah. Yes, and I'm saying this to you and to everyone, because I am not sending Christmas cards. Gave up on it.
I did that 3 years ago, and a lot of people have, because it became almost uncontrollable.
First of all, they don't come on time because the post office, what I think about them already, you know, they have that big sign that says on the post office, what is it, the mailbox, because I don't send anymore. It says, like, pick up at 10, 12, and 2. That has nothing to do with the mail. That's the girl that works the corner.
I didn't know that. It's just a...
That's a... So,
You know why I gave up Christmas cards? Because of all the people and friends you try to remember, it always would happen like the 23rd or 24th. You would get one and you'd open it. You'd say, my God, we forgot the Wilsons. Now, you'll run like crazy to get a card, and there's nothing dumber than getting a card special delivery airmail. They know that you done forgot them already. So, and you just can't keep up with it.
Also, the expense. You know what I used to do the last year when we sent them out? Like if I was sending a card to you,
right,
I would put you where it said from, and me where it said to, and no stamp, and I throw it in the box. So it would come back to you eventually, right?
That's crazy, Rita.
Took you 8 cents to... No, I liked you. But, I don't like any utilities anymore.
Right.
I mean,
Are you at war with the post office?
Oh, and Western Union, I am so sick of them. I can't take... They have a big thing now, a telegram at late at night, 60 cents, 15 words, but they choose the words. I mean, everything's got a gimmick. I choice. They hang up.
Did you know you can't send a telegram out one night? After 10 o'clock at night, I called to send a wire, and it was important. I wanted him to get a wire the next day. From Los Angeles, I had the supervisor of Beverly Hills, and those night supervisors are a lot of fun. We have to talk to our office in downtown. I called downtown Los Angeles, and it was only 10 o'clock at night, and I said, I'd like to send a wire so they can get it tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, we don't open till 8. And I said, but isn't this Western Union where you advertise, you know, the quick way to send greetings and so forth? Yes, but they close at 10 o'clock. And I could not find one place in the city of Los Angeles, which sounds like kind of a dumb service, doesn't it?
Oh, I hate
That's
to
the
say
idea of having something like Western Union is to...
Because America, we've been taken down the garden path by everybody. The phone company, the lowest. No, I'm sorry. And you know this, the lowest. Yeah, they always have the ads about operator of the year. You always see, like, Harriet Schwartz's husband was locked in a steamer truck. You know,
oh, no,
right? Hysterically, Mrs. Schwartz spoke to operator Susan Hill, who calmed the hysterical woman down and talked to her for 26 minutes while the husband suffocated in the steamer truck. She was screaming, get a doctor. Easy, lady, easy, lady.
Harry. Whatever happened to the little Western Union boys? You used to see it. They used to come around with the little caps. And we're so... You can't get a telegram delivered anymore.
No.
They want to phone it. They want to call you and read it to you. That's true.
Yes, so
they will ring. So then why not just call yourself?
I'll call myself and disguise my voice. If I want, if I don't want to...
Western Union.
Yeah. Mr. Carson invited to a party. You wouldn't know it's me.
They hardly ever deliver anymore.
But like the banks. I went in to open a bank account. I had $100, and they give you a form. They want to know my name, my married name, my single name, where I live, and where I live formerly. I'm giving them my money. And I said, I want to meet the bank president. I want to know his name, his single name, where he lived formerly. He's taking my money. I mean, the whole world is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But who do you argue with? You see, you can argue with the phone company, but you got no place else to go.
Oh, but when they say, do not fold, mutilate, or spindle on that bill.
Don't stop. Oh, don't stop.
You shouldn't even say that in jest, because once the people start doing that, you know who'll pay for it eventually, don't you? Right back to the customer again.
Yes.
They'll just add another 2 cents on or something.
That's what gets me so upset. Like, you talk about the telephone company, which I've talked about before on the show. You call information, you know. First of all, you get Eva Braun. She's working for them. I don't Miss Braun! So order, I'd like the number TWA. Can you spell it? I mean, it's just...
I like it when you call information. That number is in your directory. And I said, if I had a directory here, I would look it up, which I normally do.
I try to look it up, but I figure, why should my fingers do the walking? My fingers should walk to write a joke. Everybody should do what they're going to do, right? It's very... I mean, I don't know...
They're starting to charge for that, are they not now?
Yes.
For calls to information, they're going to charge you for it.
You're not allowed to discuss that, though. They get very... Oh, you have to pay for everything. See, that's what upsets me. Even like, we have a house, which we bought, and we just found out the termites. I mean, it's just like...
Didn't you get the inspection before?
We did, but go find the inspector. He's down in, San Juan going, Merry Christmas. I mean, it isn't... Fooled her, didn't we? I mean, I have a... You know who's decorating my house?
No.
Again, you shouldn't save money. Like we talk, you try to take. I got my hairdresser, Mr. Phyllis, to help me. And
He should be rather creative.
Look at this. I should have known. But he claimed that he was very man. You know, he kept saying to me like, I'm not a sissy. You know, he kept telling me during the war he was in uniform. And I found he was a Rockette.
That's a uniform. He didn't lie. He didn't lie.
Guy has done my house.
Well, what is it? What does he do? We're going to have to take a break while you pull yourself together here before you start this insane giggling that you get on when you get on this show. We'll continue a moment. We have a word here, but we're coming right back. Stay with us. Thank you, Doc. We're back. You don't want to talk about decorating your new house?
Oh, I have to decorate my face.
Are you... you're not going to start do the self-deprecating stuff again.
Well, when you work, I work full-time. I'm writing a column now. And
What is the column you're writing? Is it?
I'm writing a humor column.
Well, I knew it would be that, of course.
Well, some
Didn't think
people
you'd write your financial advice for Wall Street, but was it syndicated all over the country?
It's all over the country. It's in big papers. St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Chicago Sun-Times. It's like a joke. I mean, I think it's a
Hey, that's good. Good idea.
And so I'm doing all this and then decorating. And I'm exhausted. And the wrinkles are starting to show. And Edgar, I said to him, say something nice. A compliment. He said, be grateful wrinkles don't hurt. I mean, that's his idea of humor. You know.
Edgar has no style at all. No style.
It's after 8.5 years.
Well, what do you expect?
That's the way he starts up, you know, to make out. That and foreplay to him is reading TV Guide, you know. So, I try, like you try to pretend you're not getting older.
Yeah.
You know? So I was saying, like, it's not wrinkles. I said they're laugh lines.
Oh.
And he said on your thighs. And that just...
Well, you laugh all over, that's all.
A jolly person.
It really bothers you, doesn't it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'm trying to gain weight because it's true. I think when women that are a little heavier, they don't look... I mean,
so, you know, so it's a little more flesh to cover, yeah.
But the thing is, if you gain too much, then go try to lose it. You know, because I was a very fat kid, and I'm scared that it's going to just go up again.
It still goes back to that, doesn't it? You're afraid of getting chubby again.
Johnny, I mean, my mother said I was the only kid you ever saw that wore out a fork. I mean, I was fat. You know what I'm saying?
Wore out a fork?
It took him 3 days to pierce my ears. I mean, I was fat. And it's hard.
Would you go in for the whole thing? They had on one of the educational channels one night, they actually showed cosmetic surgery in detail, which was not too easy to take. Where they showed him lifting the face and all of that.
Why not?
Women going through that, but you'd go for the whole...
Well, the women in California do, and they look the better for it. There's certain things like you can't say anything negative, because your face can't come down. You can't say, like, nuts.
There's certain words you can't say? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can say, like, I'll have cheese.
Cheese.
And they say, would you like some nuts? You can't even say no. You got to say, Yeah.
There's a whole language barrier there. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, you say hello, but they look great. The women, small, because you know they pull it up and they keep snipping. And that I won't mention who, but a very famous woman saw that big standing on the counter in Thrifty drugstore. That's all that was left of the woman. All these facelifts. Little person.
Just a little teeny lady.
Little charge card. She was buying a pantyhose. I said, Edgar, look who it is! My God, am I glad to be...
Well, you won't have to do that for a long time.
Oh, well, I just want to look good, because I live in California,
right.
And that's all part of it, you know? Because there's no mystique in this town. I saw Richard Basehart, The Truth, buying a plunger in Beverly Hardware. I got so depressed, because a star shouldn't be worrying about toilet problems, you know what I'm saying? I mean, here's a giant actor, and he's saying, have you got a plunger?
Well, you have to do those things. That's part of life.
It's wrong.
Not for you.
There's no mystique anymore in this town.
I went out with the motion picture era, the big, you know.
It's gone. Now, and I'm glad I live it. Melissa's very happy here now, thank goodness.
How is she? She's got to be 3 years old now. 4.
No, she's going to be 5.
Well, she should be, yeah.
Yeah, she should be.
I go along with anything. I'm right on top of it.
But the only thing is, again, like out here, the doctor, she's very happy, except I can't find a good pediatrician. It's very strange out here.
Tough, huh?
They're mean.
Yeah. What do you mean
they're mean?
Well, no. What do you mean mean?
What do you mean mean? She goes to a pediatrician. In his office.
Yeah?
Is a picture.
A picture?
Of Santa's funeral.
Of Santa's funeral. That is a mean...
That's not mean?
That's a mean pediatrician, yes.
Taking the kid, he's examining, you see Santa, Mrs. Claus going, and little reindeer's crying. See, because I'm used to doctors. My father's a doctor. I'm used to doctors not getting a little drunk. But I've never seen anybody mean.
No.
Like my father, every once in a while he would get like a little tipsy, and you could always tell, because during an operation he'd say to the nurse, does that look right? So you'd always say, oh. keep him away, or else he would take a rubber glove and blow it up and do a milking.
Oh, one of the old, that old joke.
While the patient was going, please, doc. But I've never seen mean before.
Yeah.
You know, I had a drunk, well, we've talked about this too. I had a drunk intern deliver me. But that was,
really?
The worst. Johnny, the worst. I mean, he knew I was in show business. I had the baby. He screamed, one more time. I mean, just like, you know.
Is that the one that had his gloves pinned to his... I remember that. Said he was a little young, huh?
A little young. How young? But otherwise, Melissa's very happy out here, thank goodness. I think it's a great place to grow up.
Well, when you're young, that young, she was born in New York.
Yeah.
There wasn't a big change because she's too young.
Except, I'm not even sure if you realize that I have Melissa. Again, it's California, and if I lived in New York, I would know who I'm feeding now. Yeah. But in California, because in New York, they walk to school, the same kid comes back.
Right.
California, you know, every mother drives the child to school. You're aware of this. So every morning, 8 o'clock, the lowest. You have your nightgown on, you put your trench coat on top with the sunglasses and the curlers, and you drive the kid to school. And you tell yourself you'll have a good relationship, but all you say in the whole car is like, shut up, we're on the freeway, sit back, right? And when you get to the school, they open the door, the teacher pulls the kid out, and you keep moving. Because behind you was another mother in the nightgown with the thing, with they say, shut up, right? Then at 3 o'clock, you pull up, and they open the door, they throw the kid in, you keep moving, because the mother behind you with a waxing appointment who's going like, hurry up. So they threw in the wrong kid the week before Thanksgiving. They threw in a Chinese kid, but great looking, and a terrific pair of shoes, so I figured, I'm keeping him. And Edgar hasn't noticed. Do you want to hear tragic? Oh. Because he reads the paper.
Doesn't know.
He doesn't know. He says, good morning, Daddy, you know. And he says, good morning. And the kid is sitting there eating, you know, cereal with chopsticks. Doesn't notice. Nothing. And somewhere in Beverly Hills, there's a little Jewish girl with hairy legs. I don't know.
And they don't notice her either at the other house. That's tragedy.
I bought my kid a bagel. She wears it like a bracelet. I mean, the whole thing is...
What does they know?
What does she know? But she's great looking. That wonderful almond eyes, the black hair, which is very important for a girl.
It is a little strange out here, isn't it?
Very strange. I fit in perfectly. I have a garden. You talk about strange. I mean, like, this is Hanukkah now and Christmas.
Right.
So I wanted to give my gardener a gift. So I said, what religion are you? And he said he's a Nazi Quaker. I mean, you hear...
A Nazi Quaker?
A Nazi Quaker.
How does that work?
Glad you asked. Every Friday night in the they go down to the valley.
Right.
And first they declare war and then they refuse to go.
I figured it was something like that.
It's a very strange...
It certainly is.
It's strange around here. You know?
Oh, yeah. We have to take a brief pause here, but we'll be right back after this message from Sunbeam. Well, you all seem to know as soon as I mentioned the part she plays on television, which is the daughter in the television series Maude. She was also nominated for a Tony Award for performance in the Broadway show Grease. She's a lovely young actress. I don't know her well, but we're going to meet her. Would you welcome Adrienne Barbeau? Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, come on, gentlemen. Behave yourself. Please forgive the band.
It started early.
Did they?
Started in the makeup room.
Yeah, they have the tendency to become animalistic. They lead sheltered lives out here.
I love it.
Yeah. All the audience knew right off as soon as I said, isn't it funny? They knew the parts you played better than they knew the name. Does that bother you at all? When I said Adrienne Barbeau, people didn't know, but as soon as I said you played the daughter in the television show Maude, which is a big hit, right away they knew who you were.
It doesn't bother me. I'm just happy to be where I am, you know, at this point.
Yeah.
And it's not a name that anyone would remember. So they call me Carol, or Maude's daughter.
Yeah. On the contrary, that's a very pretty name. Barbeau. Is that,
My father's French.
French.
And my mother's Armenian.
Yeah, it was a mighty fine combination.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's almost like Nazi Quaker. What do they do? It's your first time with us, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm a little nervous.
You shouldn't be.
Everyone says that, and somehow, I guess you frightened me a little bit. And yet, when I met Johnny backstage, it was all gone. So I feel much better.
Well, just think of me as your father.
All right. Oh.
But not too long. Don't think of me. That's all, because you're quite young. I mean, I could have a daughter as old as you are, and that really kind of, in a way, makes me sad. Because you have to be in your early 20s.
Oh, you're dear. That's lovely.
Middle 20s?
A little more.
Really? Well,
I'm
anyway.
28.
Well, I could still be your father. Yes.
You could be my lover.
What?
You could be my lover.
What the heck? You say...
I only say that because I've had them who were old enough to be my father. That's why I say it.
Really?
Oh, I love older men.
Well... all of a sudden, I've been rekindled. Why is that? Why do women say that they like older men? It makes guys your age angry sometimes. But that's always true. I remember in high school, the girls that were my age were always going with the senior boys. If you were a freshman and there was a very attractive girl, they were always going with a fellow that was 18 or 19. And when you were 15 or 16, you felt like such a klutz because they wouldn't date you. And when you got to be 18 or 19, there were no girls left in high school because they were going with the guys in college. Right? That's true. And what is that? Is it...
Well, let's see. I do say...
Because physically boys mature, don't they, just as fast as girls? Oh, yeah.
This last year, as I've gotten older, suddenly all the men who are older are unavailable. And I find myself looking at men who are younger. For the first time in my life, I never thought it could happen.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Is Maud the first big important thing in your career that's happened to you? I mean, with this kind of
aside from
exposure?
Grease was the musical that I did on Broadway, which sort of led to Maud. And Maud's the first television thing I've ever done. Yeah. So it's
Are you from New York originally?
Born and raised in Northern California, and moved to New York when I was 19.
Yeah. Now, all by yourself?
I didn't know a soul. I was working for a termite control.
Seriously?
Seriously, for Boney Termite Control, working for a termite control.
What do you do for the termite control people? I mean, you weren't an exterminator.
No. I answered phones, and I was doing little theater at night, and met a girl who'd been in New York, and she said, you should go to New York. You know, that's where it's all happening. So I saved my money. I didn't know a soul. Just turned 19, packed my bags, and went to New York. It takes
a certain amount of courage to go to a city like New York all alone.
I didn't know. If I knew then what I know now, maybe I wouldn't have done it.
So what'd you do when you got to New York?
Well,
Did you have any kind of a job at all?
I started working as a barmaid.
Yeah?
On 49th Street, and then I worked as a discotheque dancer. All the dregs, the worst jobs in the world. But,
You were a barmaid?
Yeah.
That's got to be difficult now for a pretty young girl.
I worked in a place where we were very well taken care of. And I was sort of strange because I was probably the only straight chick in New York, you know, when I got there, 19. And, very strange. The only virgin in the town, I think, when I got there. But, it didn't last long. It didn't stay there.
No, there are other. You don't want people to think that there are not other virgins in New York. There are. There are. I know some 4- and 5-year-old girls. Now, come on, folks. I don't want to get in trouble again. A little humor there, maybe not too good, but But there are, you know. You were in with probably a strange crowd. Working as a barmaid, you would tend to meet.
Yes.
A little kinkier group.
Yes. I met a man who told me he was Philip Roth, and I loved it.
The guy who wrote Portnoy's Complaint.
You know, I know Philip Roth, you know, and we started going out, and I was so pleased. I knew Philip Roth, and then one day I went to the library and bought the book, or took the book out and turned it to the back cover, and there was a picture of Philip Roth, but it wasn't the man I knew.
The guy told you he was Philip Roth, and you bought that?
Roth, sure.
Yes. What would you expect to win by that?
My virginity, I suppose. I don't know. It was a...
Well,
It was a good line.
Did it work? As long as we're into this, I don't want to get too personal, but since you brought it up,
I'll pass on that
You'll pass on that question, yeah. The old Philip Roth trick.
Yeah. It's been used once. You shouldn't use it again.
Yeah. You said you were a dancer?
I was a discotheque dancer, yeah.
The go girls? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was a terrible job, but I had to work at night.
Yeah. To
make money to pay for my classes, and because you had to audition during the day.
Were you one of those girls that up in the cage?
In the cage, right. It was a nightmare. Trekking out to New Jersey every night on the tubes and the subways. And...
Boy, that's interesting. Now, where'd you live in New York?
I lived in the Village. When I first moved to New York, I had 2 roommates, which was a mistake.
Why is that a mistake?
I answered an ad in the Times. 2 girls were looking for a roommate, you know, and I gave them my money and moved in, and one girl turned out to have a drinking problem. The other one used to bring men home all the time, and I'd come home and there'd be people in my bed. It was terrible.
That was old Philip Roth.
The old...
That guy got around, didn't he?
So I moved to the village, and I lived there until I came out here.
Yeah, you've had a very interesting, varied career so far. And certainly not over yet.
It may be after tonight. I don't know.
No, it won't. You seem like you're very honest. A lot of people wouldn't, say those type of things and that play a demure and quiet that you don't know anything at all. And you're just being honest, right?
Right.
Well, some men love their stereos as much as their wives. Listen to two Marantz owners. We're back. Gabe Kaplan is with us tonight. He kind of started on our show, I guess, in a way, his first network appearance. He's a very amusing fellow. He's going to follow Doc into the Tropicana Hotel and appear on the same bill with Anne Margaret, I think, around the 28th of this month. Is that when you close, Doc? 27th, 28th?
He opens the 27th.
And it's easy to follow, Doc. You just look for a trail of sequins. And there he'll be. Would you welcome, please, Mr. Gabe Kaplan.
Thank you very much. It's nice being out here. I did start on this show, and when I came out here, I was a 27-year-old virgin comedian. But I met Philip Roth's mother, and then everything else. But I like to talk about my two old favorite television shows, Father Knows Best and Ed Sullivan. You like Ed Sullivan? How do you feel about John Cameron Swayze, No, Father Knows Best I loved it because I had the same identical family situation. I had a younger sister and an older sister. And we were just like that family, only we were completely different. Everybody in that house had a pet name. Betty, the oldest, was Princess. Bud was Son. You, Bud, Son. And Kathy was Kitten. Princess, Son, and Kitten. We also had names. Tramp, Moron, and Retard. Jim Anderson was an insurance agent. He would come home from work, take off his jacket, put on another jacket that was exactly the same, only this one had patches on the elbows, right? You could wake them up in the middle of the night and they never got angry. Margaret Anderson slept in a nightgown with a bathrobe. Jim slept in pajamas, tops and bottoms. If a problem came up, he changed to a top with patches on the elbows. Huh? Suppose Father Knows Best was made today by Norman Lear, who makes All in the Family and Sanford and Son. Problems would be different. Bud would come home and tell Jim that he has VD. He would say he caught it from his bicycle seat. Jim would tell him to take the bicycle seat down to the Board of Health and get shots for both of them. Margaret wouldn't know what to do, so she'd bake a cake. Jim and Margaret might join Springfield Swingers Club. Get one last shot at it. Send the kids away for the weekend. Margaret would get into the mood, make some obscene Jell-O molds. Put them on the table, shake them around a little bit. Look at that, Jim. Anxiously await the other couple. Bell would ring and in would walk Ozzie and Harriet. Ozzie would say, we like those pictures you sent. We've never seen a naked man with patches on the elbows before. But Ed Sullivan was like an institution in my house. Every Sunday night, 8 o'clock, my father would sit by the television set and call us. Come on, tramp, moron, retard, let's go. And we would watch Ed Sullivan. But I noticed one thing. Every week, he always had an act for the little kids. There was always an act for the teenagers. And there was an act for every different ethnic group. I always wonder what he really thought about that. Suppose he got a little drunk on his last show. And after 23 years, Ed Sullivan came out, and he said what he really thought about his show and his audience. Oh, how you doing out here? You want to know who's on our show tonight? Why don't you look at your damn TV guide? All right, let me see it. Is he here? Well, for the Jews, Myron Cohn and his Jew jokes. For the Negroes, James Brown is going to come out here and do some of that soul crap. Right on. From Italy, the magnificent Italian acrobats of the Vacciacci. Oh, I don't know what. Is that you? Oh, what's your name? Vacciacci? Say you speak English? Speako Englishy? Oh, what's your name, oh? Same to you, dear. Kate Smith made her first appearance on our show back in 1948. And over the years, Kate Smith has graced our stage 52 times. Now, I'm sick of looking at her. In our audience, Girl Scout Troop 114. I'll stand up and show us your cookies. But to open the show tonight, the zookeeper in the Bronx Zoo gonna come in here and force-feed prune juice to a monkey. All right, so bring in your monkey and sock it to him. Where's your monkey? He doesn't want to do it? Well, bring Kate Smith in here with you. Come on, Kate, we got a surprise for you. This will help you get your moon over the mountain. Well, I'm not going to do it. I'm going home. Well, good night.
First time I saw you do that, you had me on the floor. It's such a great premise after 23 years where you've just handed the whole show up to here and you let it all out, right?
What he really felt. I always wondered about it.
Wonder what Ed's doing Sunday nights. He must be standing around New York introducing. There's a truck right over there. No?
Oh, you want to see some traffic? Come over here.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this short message. Stay with us. Back. We could sell another show during that commercial break.
Yeah, I was
in there. You just joined us. My guests are Joan Rivers, Adrienne Barbeau, and Mr. Gabe Kaplan. It's going well, isn't it, for you the past year or so?
Everything is going terrific. I really owe a lot to be on this show. You know, every 6 weeks, everybody watches the show. And going into Vegas, you know, right after Doc.
Yeah, that's great. Is that your first?
My first Vegas.
Go around in Las Vegas.
I was talking to Doc behind. He said he went in right after Ed, and it was terrible. He had to get the alligators out of the dressing room.
Do you buy that story? You buy that?
No, it's nice. It's the first night of Hanukkah. I'm happy.
That's right. That's right. It is.
I heard somebody say that. You know,
it's a
two Jews in the audience.
That's a happy holiday, also, though, isn't it?
The only thing I didn't like about Hanukkah when you're growing up is you don't have a mythological figure to identify with. But I heard that here they've come up with a new Christmas figure. He's in some of the parades, and his name is Hannah Claus.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he's just the same as Santa Claus, only he doesn't wear red and white, he wears blue and white. And no elves. He has a short team of trained Jewish tailors. And no reindeer. Santa Claus can be seen cutting through the December sky in a black Eldorado. And everything in his bag is marked down at $3.98.
Now, will you get in trouble with people like that? Will they write you and say, now that's a put down and so forth, and ethnic joke? You run into any problems with your stuff?
No, I never get... I got one bad letter in all the times, and it was about the Ed Sullivan thing.
Yeah?
Somebody didn't
What didn't they like?
They just didn't like the fact of saying for the Jews and for the Negroes. They thought that was in bad taste. But I've never gotten any bad mail. In fact, I do that bit about the old people on a dating game in Miami, and when I go to Miami, if I don't do it, they get angry.
Yeah, you do a wonderful...
Do that bit about the old people. I want to hear that. Let me hear that. That's fun. I want to hear that.
That's right. You do a wonderful chunk on that. Somebody said you got something that ties in with Christmas, a little chunk of material you're going to do?
Right. I was watching, all the Christmas shows, and the same ones are on every year, and A Christmas Carol will be starting again, And I could not relate to A Christmas Carol because it wasn't a contemporary story, so I'd like to change it. I hope Dickens will forgive me and do my version of A Christmas Carol.
Well, he may never know.
He may never know.
All right. Yeah, your version of... Yeah.
Tonight, I'd like to tell you the story of a mean, stingy man. He had no holiday spirit. He lived in New York City, and his name was Ebenezer Schwartz. Ebenezer Schwartz owned and operated a dirty book and novelty store on 9th Avenue, where he employed a faithful black worker, Bobby Lee Crotchet. Every year, Bobby Lee wanted a day off. Mr. Schwartz, can I get a day off? You want off? Off you want! Why don't you straighten out the vibrators? And no more having lunch with the inflatable women. Schwartz went home, and that night, a strange phenomenon happened. Ebenezer Schwartz! Ebenezer Schwartz! I don't see you, you're not there. You could be that bad tuna salad I had at Howard Johnson. You don't recognize me, Ebenezer. Oh, yeah, you're my old partner, Jacob Schmarley. How do you know it's me? I've been dead for 9 years. You still spit when you talk. Alive or dead, I'm getting a shower here. Ebenezer, you're going to be visited by 2 spirits. One at 12 and one at 1. Maybe 1:15, 1:30. Who knows? It's our busy season. At 12 o'clock, the first spirit arrived. How you doing, Ebenezer Schwartz? Nice place you got here tonight. You know what I mean? Oh, you think it's easy being a spirit? I'll tell you one thing. You get no respect. No respect at all. I gotta show you a few things, Ebenezer. This is you as a little boy. Where's your parents? My mother always wore a monocle. One day she was killed by a deranged Mexican who thought she was Teddy Roosevelt. Afterwards, my father kept saying, I told her, Ruth, trim your sideburns, shave your mustache. You don't give anybody any respect, either, like your nephew. Why don't you give him a place in your business? Are you kidding? My nephew's a hippie. He came to my house. He tried to smoke my sofa. He sniffs Tidy Bowl. Last week, he got a little man in a boat coat up his nose. At 1 o'clock, the second spirit arrived. Are you the second spirit? Why don't you say something, second spirit? The other one couldn't shut up. Speak, spirit. Where you taking me? A cemetery. Whose grave is that? They show no respect. Somebody had a picnic there. Empty McDonald's bags all over the place. Is this my grave? Spirit, I have to know. Can the future be changed? Can it be altered? Can you widen the lapels? Taking a button? Sewing? Tell me, can you all... Speak, spirit! What are you handing me a card? I am a deaf-mute spirit. This is how I make a living. Ebenezer Schwartz was scared, and from that moment on, he became one of the most charitable men in New York City.
Now you probably get some letters on that, too. People saying you've taken A Christmas Carol and
well, there's always people that don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah. You'll have problems, but you do strange, funny things.
Thank you very much.
And I think when you are comedically oriented, your mind does do crazy and wild things.
I don't think anybody can please anything. I'm sure Will Rogers or anybody in his time, people. I'm not comparing myself with Will Rogers, but I'm sure that everybody got letters about things.
Yeah, very few things you can comment on nowadays where you get some mail and people will resent it.
Right.
So you plunge on, all right, which we will do after this. My next guest, George Plimpton, is a journalist who, over the years, has put himself practically in the middle of every story that he covers. He's played quarterback for the Detroit Lions, the Baltimore Colts. He's boxed champion Archie Moore at one time, played tennis against Pancho Gonzalez, pitched for the National League All-Stars. And he's done a lot of other crazy things. He's the author of a new book called Mad Ducks and Bears, Football Revisited. Would you welcome, please, George Plimpton. Good to see you again.
Pleasure.
I saw you on I guess it was a trailer for a show. I saw you swinging from a trapeze on something. Was that the latest
well, no,
madness
that was
you got
they're rerunning those. That was a show I did some years ago, trying to be to join the circus, to see what the circus is all about. Became a rather strange trapeze artist. They used to call me the flying telephone pole. Being 6'4" and 200 pounds, that's a bit too much to be flying
Actually,
through the
you
air.
did get up and do a thing or two, didn't you?
Well, in a manner of speaking, I used to spend most of my time in the net. They have a net, fortunately, for trapeze artists.
Yes.
But I finally learned to get to the... Of course, a trapeze artist, there are two of them. There's the flyer and the catcher, and I was the so-called flyer. And I used to spend a great deal of time trying to get to the catcher, which is what you're supposed to do. And as I say, I usually ended up in the net, and the catcher was there waiting for me for about a month. Finally got to him in the end of the month.
Book's a fascinating book. We had Alex Karras on the show. We were talking about the book one night. The title, Mad Ducks and Bears, has to do with a couple of players, does it not?
Yeah, Alex is the Mad Duck.
Right.
Alex Karras, so called because he used to sort of scuttle into opposing backfields like a mad duck. That was his style of running.
Right.
And then the Bear is John Gordy, so called because he's a rather furry fella. In fact, on the way to the shower, they used to say, "Hey, John, take off your overcoat." He's a very hirsute fellow indeed.
That's what I hear. He was, you did the thing originally with the Detroit Lions. That was, when you wrote the book, The Paper Lion, about that, right?
Yeah.
That was how many years ago?
Oh, my, that's about, about 10 years ago.
That was one of the first adventures you got involved with, was it not?
Yeah, it was. First, I did baseball, and then I did boxed against Archie Moore, as you say, which I've never written a book about. Still working on that one. And then The Paper Lion, which was participating with the football team.
When you say football revisited, did you get a different outlook or insight into football players by going back and...
Well, this book started off to be a sort of a manual. Both Karras and Gordy are linemen. Karras, a defensive tackle, and John Gordy, an offensive lineman. And they've always felt that linemen have been sort of neglected in the great glamour of football. People are always writing about the quarterbacks and the flankers and so forth. And they thought that, first of all, they thought there ought to be a manual about how to play in the lineup. They wanted me to help them with a chapter on the head slap, for an example. Rather a solemn book they wanted to teach people how to play in those sort of anonymous, the pit, it's so-called.
Right.
And I suppose the book was going to be about 60 pages long, with little diagrams and so forth. But they turned out to be so irreverent and funny about football and about their lives in the National Football League that the book took a completely different direction. I used to come to my apartment in New York and sit there and howl with laughter about what they'd gone through for the past 10 years. And then slowly this book became not a manual, but really a record of their adventures. You know, that people think of football players as really being rather solemn people involved in a very grim...
Not the ones I have read, at least on this show.
It's interesting. Most people think that because of the whips and the whistles and so forth, that they have to be professional. And they see them on the field, and you don't see very much laughter underneath those helmets. But in private, you're right. They turn out to be extremely
Karras is one of the most amusing people I've ever met. We had Jim Kick and Larry Zonka on the show one night, and there are a couple of... Do you think in recent years, and a lot of people think that they've kind of torn the old idea of the sports hero down because there have been exposés from baseball players and saying that, you know, we're not exactly the knight in shining armor. You turn out to be, have all the peccadillos of lots of people. And a lot of parents think, well, you shouldn't do that, you know, to the baseball heroes. And they're as mortal as anybody else.
And a lot of humor. I think the humor really is a hedge against what they have to do, because it isn't much fun having to, well, football, what do? They play about 1/100th of 1% of the time that they are football players. So as a hedge, really, to survive the rest of the time, they become exactly the sort of person that you describe, full of humor, wit, practical jokes.
Do you find any character differences or personality differences in somebody who plays, let's say, a defense or an offensive position?
Well, the offensive people, I remember Leon Hart, who was a great end with Notre Dame and then played with the Detroit Lions. He once told me that and he played in a day when you played both offense and defense. You played the whole 60 minutes. And he used to say that he preferred playing offense because he was part of a mechanism that was supposed to work. It was a constructive thing. It was supposed to move the ball from here down across the goal line. It was, as I say, a constructive thing, whereas defense was to destroy all of that, and he preferred being a part of a sort of a constructive organization. But then I happened to overhear him saying that when you played defense and you were trying to get to the quarterback, the great thing to do was to hit him high because you could impair his vision and possibly might break his arm. So that I think, he preferred playing offense, but he got a sort of a physical pleasure out of playing defense.
Don't you find that most of those players who play, especially on the offensive position, have to have an instinct, or at least psych themselves up into that instinct that, in a way you're out to punish somebody. Maybe not physically try to hurt them, but
well, the one determining thing you have to be a football player, of course, is that you have to want to collide with people. It's collision. And half the people in the world are non-collision people, and the other half are.
But everybody would like to do that. Don't you think football vicariously serves as a catharsis sometimes for violence? When you watch, it's like watching a boxing match. People seem to get it all out by watching somebody else pop somebody.
I would hope not. I think most of them really prefer to watch things for the great skills they see, don't you think? Because first of all, in a football game, you sit so far up in the back that you can't really see what's going on there. If you really want to see what the violence is like, you have to get right down there. And of course,
it is violent,
it is
as you say in the pit.
And the terrible sounds and the yells and the people psyching themselves up.
How do they get psyched up? How do you find that the players have to psych themselves up for a game?
Well, this fellow John Gordy, the bear of Mad Ducks and Bears, told me once that he's an offensive guard, and his function many times, of course, is to defend the quarterback. And he used to pretend that the quarterback that he was defending back there was not actually a football player, but his 2-month-old baby lying in a little cradle. So that you can imagine what determination he would give to protect what was back there. Karras, on the other side of the line, is a bit more complicated. He used to pretend that the quarterback was the sort of the antithesis of everything that was part of his background. Tough steel town, Gary, Indiana. Right. And he used to imagine that the quarterback was a sort of lucky person that didn't grow up out of that community, a fellow from the East who didn't smoke, who didn't swear, whose hair was carefully groomed, wore a Phi Beta Kappa key.
So this was anti-establishment.
Exactly. And he used to try to imagine that was the fellow he was going to get to. And one of the interesting things was he always had bad games against quarterbacks who came out of the same sort of environment that he did. For example,
that's interesting.
John Unitas, came out of the Pittsburgh steel towns, very much like Gary, Indiana. Alex Karras never really had very good games against him.
It was too similar of...
He couldn't imagine him as being this Phi Beta Kappa key carrying Eastern effete. And of course, Unitas is not that.
Yeah.
In fact, they say that on one occasion, Karras actually had an absolutely clear shot at Unitas. Pass protection had broken down, and he really could have put him out of commission for a long time. He just went out and put his arms around him like that. He just
That's interesting. I never thought about what they fantasize to get to the quarterback. Didn't you find that one of them fantasized that the quarterback was, say, Adrienne with no clothes on? I mean, think of the way you'd go after the quarterback. Nobody had that kind of a...
Well, you may have given some suggestions to some linemen. The next season may be entirely different.
Just psych them up. Now, are you going to take another fling at... I remember the film we showed once where you were quarterbacking the Lions, and they handed off the ball from the... and you stepped back and fell down. Nobody laid a hand on you. You just stepped back and fell flat down. Are you...
There's a psychological... it is pretty terrifying if you haven't done it before. Of course, what I try to do is play as much as I can and get in as much as... Actually, in the 10 years between Paper Lion and this new book, see, what happened was I came out of retirement, was coaxed out of retirement, I guess the way it is, to play for the Baltimore Colts, to do a television show.
They need somebody to play for.
Once again, quarterbacking, and so really it was going to be interesting to see what the differences were between the two teams, and also the difference in my performance. And when I played with the Lions, you're quite right, I lost, I think, 30 yards in 4 attempts.
It was a little grim.
Carried back into the end zone by Roger Brown, who used to weigh 300 pounds. But the second time around, playing with the Colts, I found I gained 26 yards. 15 of those yards, I might add, were on a roughing the passer penalty, which is...
Nobody explained it to me like that.
There was this big Detroit. It was a game, Baltimore Colts versus my old teammates, the Detroit Lions. And there was this big defensive end, Mitchell. And he saw me standing there looking a little confused, which I was. And he just gave me a terrific shot with the arm. He just wanted to show me what it was like to be in the National Football League. And the referee saw this and flung down the orange
But he gave you a
flag.
good shot.
Ears are still ringing from it, but he wanted to show me what it was all about.
You've been asked this question many times. I already know the answer because you do it for the same reason I've participated in some of these various functions. It's kind of a Walter Mitty thing to take yourself and try something that requires a great deal of skill just to see how you, what it feels like to be in that position, right?
I think so. Then also you find out much more about the society that you enter, the circus that you were talking about before. You find out that it's a sort of that it's full of refugees from the outside society, people that the fat lady, the freaks, and so forth. And
that's their whole existence.
Their whole existence,
family.
And there's they very rarely leave it. In fact, if you try to get them to go out to dinner, they stay in that society. But within that society, there are these rules and regulations, a type of hierarchy, a type of